Makes the action more than it was before. That's what woods are for those moments in the woods. That's what woods are for. The woods are for those moments in the woods, you know? Hi. Hello. So I'm going to be doing something today that I kind of. Ooh, the star's at the top of the deck and the Hierophant is at the bottom. Now, I ain't used this deck in a minute. I'm actually going to count these to make sure I have all of them because I feel like that would be wise. But basically, what I'm going to do, I can't remember what I titled this. I can't remember if I titled this like 6-9 or if I titled it what I'm actually going to title it. But ooh, Six of Wands with the Hierophant at the cut now. Yes, that was a good shuffle. So I'm gonna do one layer, lay these all out. I'm gonna see what majors come out in one layer. I'm only gonna do one, and then the cards to the north, east, south, and west. I'm gonna read, and we'll see just kind of sort of what majors we got floating around. I guess. See if anything happens. I had a super weird dream last night. It all started with this lady, this random lady. And she came to me. Oh, look, the star is back, but it's with the tower now. So, hey. This is my favorite tower card, though, high key. Because it's something about that bolt that's striking this tower. Like, this is like the most divine tower card I've ever felt. Or every time I see it, it's almost like this light that pours into whatever that sets it ablaze. Like, it can't handle it or something. But anyway, so I can't even remember how I found her. There was this random lady, and then all of a sudden, she was like in the house, or I invited her to come to my house for some reason. And I was surprised because then my mom ended up showing up, and I thought I was going to get in trouble because my mama does not like people in her house. And my mom was like, "Wow, she was just like said something. She was like, this is like, we've never had an overnight visitor or an overnight guest before." And then my mom said overnight guest before I even knew that she was staying overnight. And then there was something about it was like a key ring or jewelry or something. And instead of taking like the key off of the ring, or instead of removing the little thing from the jewelry, she just like linked it together. And so like she had this like big old necklace and this other necklace and this other like whatever like linked together. And I was like, I thought you were just gonna like take the thing off and then connect them. Um, she was talking about something I can't remember, and then I go to ooh, there's a whole bunch of cards. Queen of Wands. Let's see. Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Swords. So someone stole somebody's confidence. It's like Space Jam, right? When they go and they steal people's basketball abilities, and it's like Hercules when they make him drink the potion that drains his divinity. It's like that, but now it's like being returned. Uh, but in the second dream, there were like these artifacts or these items that were tied to certain people, and I can't like I get bits and pieces of this dream, but it's almost like you would find your artifact and then you would just be consumed by one of the seven deadly sins, and then you would kind of sort of turn into a monster. But the point was to conquer it, and so it got conquered. And then there were these like blue little bean type things, and let's call them angels, and they were or whatever. They were these blue beings that were then ascending or like going off, floating up into the sky. And then somebody was about to like go up there with them, but they paused for some reason. And then this other somebody else who had been consumed, I'm assuming, came down. And I can't remember which person was tied with which deadly sin. The only one I remember for sure is like greed. Um, and he came down, and then there was this fight between them. And then after the fight, I guess the person decided to stay down instead of going off to wherever to fight the other ones coming or to help the other people. Oof. And then we got the shadow side right there. So the one person reclaimed his power. He defeated his own shadow that made that like embodied one of the seven deadly sins specifically. And again, it's like all of these artifacts, these items were tailor made to these people. So he faced his shadow, got that whatever, came out victorious on the other side. Hold up. I'm just trying to make these fit with the dream, y'all. And then he got an ability. Okay. So I can see, okay, yeah, we'll look at all this later. Um, and then so he fought another one. And then I guess he decided to stay down there and keep fighting because other people would come across the artifacts. And I guess not everyone would be able to defeat their shadow on their own. And they may need some like help or something like that. Something like that. It was very weird. And so I remember there was this one point, there was like a building or an organization, and somebody was about to leave. And there was another point, because it's about artifacts, right? Or some kind of like artifacts, totems, some kind of item tied to somebody. It's kind of like Persona, how their corrupted desires manifest as palaces within their heart, and the palaces are tied to one specific item. So it may be like a gold Olympic medal. It may be a certain painting if they're an artist. It may be a novel if they're a writer. It may be, um, you know, whatever is linked to their corrupted desire, right? So it's like Persona, but I guess it's before they actually become palaces. Because it's like the person gets the item and then they're consumed by having it or something. I don't know. It was weird. And I woke up and then I tried to go back to sleep and I couldn't sleep for a second. So I was like, well, let me write that dream down. And so when I began to write it down, I was like, what was even happening? But I remember there was this one point where someone was leaving and they got a box from somebody and the box had their name on it. But they were like, wait, like there's this whole like totem slash artifact thing going on, and something about this box, like it has my name on the outside. It was like a package. It's like it has my name on the outside, but I don't think this is mine. And so like they carefully cut it open, and there were smaller packages inside of it, and they had other people's names on it. And it was like, yeah, see, I knew this wasn't mine. Okay, bye. Like, I'm not taking this on. This ain't mine. This isn't my stuff to unpack and process. This is addressed for somebody else. I knew it wasn't mine when I got it. Good thing I checked. But I remember there was this one, they were going to leave and they were going to like take a bus or something. And there was this person who was like somebody who was like offering money for the trip, like as a farewell gift or whatever. And they took the money. Because I'm trying to remember, like, I remember, like, thinking that that person was associated with greed somehow. And so they took the money to go on this trip. And I can't remember how it played out exactly. I can't remember, like, if the person actually took the money or if the person was going to take the money but then didn't take the money. Yeah, I think the person didn't take the money because when they didn't take the money, it's like the person revealed themselves to be greed. And so there was like this package that wasn't that person's. There's this money that this person shouldn't have taken and they didn't take. And so I guess instead of taking the bus, because then I remember like this person was walking somewhere and I saw one of my friends. And like there was somebody else, some political figure right now, and I can't remember exactly what he was saying or what he was doing there. And somebody that I know was there. And she was like, "What's going on? Like, why can't we just do this or why can't we do that?" And then I remember I was there, like I was talking to her, and I was like, "Girl, it's like a whole bunch of stuff going down behind the scenes. I know on the surface it looks like this, and you would think, why can't we just do this? But there's like this whole thing on the backside between basically angels and demons, it seems like, between the virtues and the seven deadly sins. And it's not just as simple as whatever it looks like on the surface. It was so weird. And I remember like thinking I couldn't tell her what was really going on, but then I was like, there's no other way to really like explain this so that it makes sense if she doesn't know what's going on. But also like I was trying to go somewhere and she was going somewhere and we were walking in the same direction for a minute, but then I think I crossed the street. I don't know. I don't know. It's all like weird. And then like there were people who were people, but not other people, and people who were turning into other people because they would get the items and be lost and whatever. I don't know. It was weird. And then there was this lady who just showed up and she was talking about stuff, and I was like, wow, this is so interesting. I wish I could remember, but oh well. So the Queen of Wands and the this is interesting. This is accepting the shadow. This is being ruled by the shadow. Right? Because the Queen of Wands in a lot of decks, she's depicted with like a black cat that's just like sitting there. That's her shadow side. It's prominent. Everyone can see it. People are attracted to her because she is so integrated and whole in herself and confident, right? So you got that sort of duality, being in control of it or being controlled by it. And then we have this King of Cups, which speaks of the heart space. We have the Magician that speaks of manifestation. We have this Queen of Pentacles that speaks to being fruitful and bearing something into the world. So, manifesting things from the heart space that play out on the physical, right? Which is just like manifestation, honestly. And then we go into the Seven of Cups and the Two of Pentacles, which speaks of options and choices, illusions and balances. And that's one way to know if something is an illusion or not. It's to see how it affects your internal balance. And then we have the Four of Cups with the King of Swords. Four of Cups with the King of Swords speaking to maybe thinking that you missed out on something. But with this Four of Cups, there's almost an, like you have a mermaid and then you have this kid, right? Or maybe it's a young man. I don't know. But it's like that wouldn't have, like, she's a mermaid, he's not. Like, he's a human, she's not. It wouldn't have worked out. And so there's this like coming to a knowledge and an awareness and understanding. It's all like this king is this kid. And so he lives his life sort of like away from this mermaid that no one else thinks is real. Because, you know, like, and maybe this is also him, like, no one else believes that, like, he knows that this is real, but no one else, like, he can't convince anyone else, and he's too young to really do anything with that himself. And so he lives this life sort of resigned, like, always thinking about the mermaid, knowing that she's real, believing that she's real, maybe sometimes questioning it, but ultimately in his heart, knowing that she's real, right? And then we end up with Karma and the Ten of Swords. So we start with controlling the shadow or being controlled by the shadow. And then we end with Karma and the Ten of Swords. And I feel like this is the same thing. This is learning from the lessons. This is seeing the lessons as something to make you stronger or being defeated by the lessons. And it's kind of sort of directly related to this in a way. But to end here after this, it's almost like there's an element of time here, of lost time and of replaced time. So it's like this king, this boy who becomes the king, lives his life maybe not making any waves on the outside, but knowing internally this truth that he's always known that no one else has ever accepted. And so, with that yellow being the solar plexus, I feel like there's an element of him knowing how to navigate in the world, but there's also this element of like him searching or looking for a way to be like with her, right? And so it almost feels like he comes upon some kind of magic or something that would allow them to be together. And at the same time, it would take him back to this moment. But like Rumpelstiltskin says in Once Upon a Time, all the time, all magic comes with a price, right? And so the price of this initially is his kingdom, right? Because it's like if he goes back in time to be united with her, then everything that he's done will be undone. And so now with this karma versus the Ten of Swords, it almost feels like he's not supposed to go back. And there's something about this that he's supposed to, now that it's like now that he has the ability to go back and to do whatever, it's for him to not do it and for him to realize that there's something in this moment, there's something in the now, there's something that he's built or established that his presence is too needed where he is to go back and try to undo everything that's been done. And again, that's sort of the energy of like learning from the lessons, realizing that we go through things for a reason and that we are changed by those things. Sometimes for the worse, but when for the worse, we can make it for the better. And so this karma is about moving forward in a new way, finally having accepted the past for what it was. And this Ten of Swords would be him going back. And then, like, let's say that, I don't know, he goes back in time and they live together, and then you find out that they don't even like each other. Or let's say that he sprouts a fin so that they can live together under the sea, but the lifespan of a mermaid is much longer than the lifespan of a human. And so then he finds out that, they won't, or like the lifespans are different, right? So then either he would pass before her or she would pass before him. And it's a question of like momentary happiness versus Ace of Cups versus the Eight of Cups. It's like momentary happiness versus like something that stretches out in the long run. And it's almost the case that with that karma card, with him closing one cycle, he would come into something even better, right? Like, who's not to say that she hasn't found a way to be with him that wouldn't require all of the sacrifice? Or who's not to say that, he's not to find out that the mermaid was actually not real and that the whole thing has been this elaborate ploy of someone who knew his destiny, his future to become this king. It's like back to Hercules when, like, Hades got the prophecy from the fates. And they were like, in 18 years, precisely, the planets will align ever so nicely, right? And there's that magician again. Who we coming out with? The King of Cups and Karma. Woohoo! I forgot the King of Cups was there. So the King of Swords turns into a King of Cups, right? And the mermaid is of water, and I don't know. But it's almost like there was this prophecy. And so there was this interjection point in the past to consume him moving forward in the future, so that when he reached this moment of decision where I could go back and make a different decision or I can continue forward, it's like there's some party that has a vested interest in him going back. Ooh, Two of Cups and the Nine of Cups. All right. There's some party that has a vested interest in him going back so that he won't be present for whatever is coming next. And so that's why, like, for him to go back would be a mistake. And then it's like, let's say he chooses to not go back. And so he enters this moment that he was destined for. And then somehow he finds out that the mermaid from the past was like a trick to get him off of his path, and he's like, "Ooh, I'm glad I didn't choose that." Right? It's like, these aren't my storytelling cards, but that's the story that I got. Okay, all right. I don't know. Make it resonate how it resonates. It's all energy, you know. Okay, let's get this started. I'm going to be pulling from the top. First card out is the Knight of Wands. So this speaks to Sagittarian energy, which is kind of sort of what we shouldn't be doing right now. And then here's that King of Swords. Love it. So this is desire versus information, right? I feel like this is the space of things that we could do, but things that we probably shouldn't do. You know, it's like just because we can doesn't mean we should. We go from the 5 to the 6 of Pentacles, so that's interesting. Um, I feel like going from the 5 to the 6 of Pentacles just speaks to like where things may have been bare and barren in the past. We're going to be coming, oop, and then as I'm talking about this, we go. So it's the 5 of Pentacles into the 6 of Pentacles, followed by the 2 of Cups, the Page of Pentacles, and the 10 of Pentacles. So that's everything I was about to say. It's like where maybe we were sort of lacking in the past, we're going to be coming into a space of abundance. But when we get this abundance, the first major out is the Hangman, Piscean energy, hey, sitting right under Aquarius, right next to Sagittarius. Ooh, there's Libra. Um, then we have the World card, hey, coming out not too long after the Hangman, actually. So there's a little sort of bridge say, ooh, I like that. Oh, wow, I really like that. Oh, now we have the Death card. This is interesting because all of these, so the Hangman, the World, and the Death card all share a card. And then we have the Shadow side coming out at the end. So the Shadow side is also going to share a card with the Hangman. Okay. So this is like wrapping back. So anyway, whereas there was a space of lack in the past, we're going to be coming into a space where we get more increase. And this increase that we get may be related to it. It feels like it's because like the 5 of Pentacles is also being left out in the cold. So there's an element of acceptance amplified by this 2 of Cups, right? Or reinforced by this 2 of Cups as we come out of this 5 of Pentacles state. And then there's this increase, and it's almost like this 10 of Pentacles / Wheel of Fortune type increase, because again, we're going from the 5 to the 6. So we're going from having nothing to having so much that we have to give excess, right? We have excess to give of, and it's to give of that excess because it's almost like to hoard it would be for it to spoil. The third 6 just came out on the table. The second 9 just came out on the table. No, wait, that's yeah. So there's 3 6s right now, 2 9s, and 3 majors. And then here's a 3. Oof. Oh man, really? Oh, really? Ooh, the 3 of Swords into the 3 of Cups. So that speaks of where one may have found nothing but heartbreak. And the third 9 just came out, or one may have found nothing but heartbreak in the past. There's now the Moon card is coming out. There's now this element of acceptance for maybe for something that might not have been accepted in the past. And it's almost like finding love in a space that you never would have thought you found it. Bottom of the deck is the Queen of Pentacles. So we're starting with the Knight of Wands, which is all about desires, more or less. And then we move into the Queen of Pentacles, which is all about worth. And so right off the bat, this is telling me that we need to conduct ourselves in a way befitting someone of the crown. And there may be an element, because the 6 of Pentacles is here, coming from the 5 of Pentacles, but also there may be an element of selflessness, because the Queen of Pentacles is very nurturing, very compassionate, kind, and caring and loving. She's not the Queen of Cups, but she's very nurturing, kind, compassionate, caring, and loving. And the Knight of Wands is someone who more or less serves their own interests, but it's also someone whose interest isn't fixed on anything for long, right? And then the Queen of Pentacles is also about building something up. It's cardinal earth energy, Capricorn. We have the Devil right here, so I guess we'll start there. So coming from the east, sort of the wind at this shadow side's energy's back is the Page of Cups. Ooh, I see this little child and that big old wave with her tiny little cup. She cannot contain all of what this is just. And we have Pisces here twice also. We have Pisces in the Hangman and in the Moon card. um, the Hangman is all water energy, but it's more um, it's like traditionally more water, but it's more recently like Neptunian energy, and Pisces is the only sign ruled by Neptune. So that's why I say we have Pisces here twice. Scorpio is also here. And then we have Saturn and Capricorn. So heavy Saturn energy, heavy water energy at the same time. All together. All together. Okay. So with this Page of Cups coming to this shadow side, it's almost like we're trying to drown this devil. And it's giving me, I watched clips of like Ben 10 a long time ago. And it was a new animated series. I'm more of a fan of they're all animated. I don't know why I said new animated series. But it's like the newer series where they're kids again. And I was more of a fan of the older series, like the original. But there was this monster that he fought that would absorb light. And so he thought that if he gave the monster enough light, it would explode. So he gave this monster a whole bunch of light and it didn't explode. It just got more dangerous. It was insatiable. So something about like I see this like this double energy like drinking every single drop. It's like your capacity is limited when it comes to this. There's more water than you could ever hold. But something about this is insatiable because this isn't real, right? And it's that feeling like yesterday. Can't remember where I was talking about it, but it's like on Casper, you have these ghosts that are eating food, that are drinking liquids, and it's going right through their bodies. I was talking about the ego not being there. Like if you try to eliminate or excise your shadow, completely distance yourself from your shadow. Um, and this the shadow side right here, so it's perfect. If you try to do that, then you'll become sort of this being that is incapable, unable to maintain anything, right? Because it's like without like your shadow is the vessel, right? If we correlate it to the body, the shadow would be the body, your light would be what animates the body, right? And then we do have, again, maybe we have a shadow that is right. There was an element of balance that's not here. And that's we started with the Queen of Wands and the shadow side. It's like either you're controlling it or you're controlled by it. So we're starting off being controlled by it, maybe knowingly. So I'm going to read through these really quick. We're starting off being controlled by it, maybe knowingly, and it's keeping us in this feeling of sort of like not really finding a home and being separate and isolated from everything else. When from the outside or on the inside looking out, we see all of these things that make us desire and crave connection and an ability to go forth in the world and do all of what we want to do. But then at the same time, we have this shadow that will distract us with other things to keep us from doing that. And not only will it distract us from those things, or maybe as a direct result of us being distracted by these more petty and minor things, we never really go after anything fulfilling. And since we never feel that fulfillment, we sort of then internalize that within ourselves. And again, coming back to this Page of Cups, that's the insatiability of the shadow. It's because the shadow doesn't seek anything that actually fulfills it because it abhors the light, right? And it's like the light is the substance that the vessel needs to be filled. And so that's the wind at the back of the shadow side. And it's actually pushing it forward towards change, right? So it's like we're reaching the point where we can see that we're never going to be full if we continue to seek the things that we're seeking. And so the challenge that we're encountering is this Nine of Wands. And the Nine of Wands in this deck, like she is not beat up. She is, let me see if I can find her. Oh, look at that. Right behind the Queen of Pentacles was this Queen of Wands, and that's what I was looking for. This Nine of Wands is the Queen of Wands before she becomes the Queen. And look how, like, she is. I love this card because this is the Nine of Wands that is not beat up. She could go all day. She could go all day. She's got the stamina. Nine of Wands is a card of stamina. She's got it. And so either this is her before she becomes the queen, or this is her when she needs to go and be like warrior queen when she needs to go and fight. Um, but that's sort of the challenge coming. I feel like it's like portion control. It's like this diet energy, right? Because instead of the Knight of Wands, and the Nine of Wands is sitting right under the Knight. So it's like instead of this Knight of Wands being able to go out and do whatever it wants to do, you're sort of being asked to reel it in a little bit. And there are still things that you can do, but it's about realizing that instant gratification leads to us seeking more instant gratification. And there's never a moment of savoring something or enjoying something because it never requires anything of us to get it. And it's so funny that like the Hanged Man is attached to this Nine of Wands, right? And the Page of Cups is also attached to the Death card. So we got Piscean energy on one side and Scorpio energy on the other side. And it's also interesting because Capricorn sextiles Pisces and um, both Pisces and Scorpio. And so a sextile is an opportunity. Now, a trine will kind of sort of do it for you. A sextile is an opportunity for you to do it. So there's an opportunity for us to transform this shadow by realizing that whatever cup we've been holding has holes in it and it can never be filled. It's right, because we don't seek anything of substance. And so with this hangman, again, with the hangman on top of the Nine of Wand, like these two coming off of this shadow side, coming off of the devil energy is definitely like this is rehabilitation, this is detox, this is you need to put whatever substance you're using to numb down, because as long as you continue to numb, you're not going to be able to feel this. And that's sort of this feeling of the Three of Swords. I guess the Nine of Swords is down here too. The Nine of Swords into the Three of Swords into the Three of Cups. This is detox right here as well, right? Because there's a lot of things, and this Nine of Swords is sitting like diagonally under the Hangman. So it's sitting on the opposite ends of the thing directly below the hangman. So it's fueling this hangman in a way that is kind of sort of more on the outside. And it's also interesting because this Three of Cups, it's like, so we have the hangman and the death card up here, right? And so we have the Nine of Swords, Three of Swords, Three of Cups in between the hangman and the death card running beneath the surface. And again, it's bringing these opportunities for the shadow to be healed. And so, again, with that numbing energy from the hangman, there are things that we don't want to think about, and we're being asked to think about them. And so that's where this Three of Swords comes in, because there may be things that we've been preventing ourselves from feeling for a long time that we're now being asked to feel. But as we feel it, we can begin to heal it, right? And then we can begin to get like actual like fulfillment in things, right? It's because like we're giving we're filling the vessel with things that actually matter instead of filling the vessel with things that will numb it. And so with the Nine of Wands, it's asking you again to be strong. And that's going to be the challenge moving forward. The challenge may be putting some other things down. The challenge will be, and then that's a 9 into a 9. So, hey, the challenge might be. And then we actually had the third 9 that came out. I don't know if I mentioned that when it came out, but I did. We have 3 9s, 3 6s, and 2 3s on the table. And I believe one of everything else. We have a knight, a king, in a page, 2 pages actually, and everything else is in one. Okay, so yeah. Um, oh no, there's 2 twos as well. 2 twos, 2 3s, 1 4, 1 5, 3 6s, 1 7, no eights. There's I have 24 cards on the table and no eights. 3 9s, 1 10, 2 pages, 1 knight, no queens except for the one that came at the bottom of the deck, and 1 king. No eights and no queens. And then there's 4 majors. So yeah, if you're interested in the breakdown. There are no aces on the table either. So no aces, no eights, and no queens actually on the table, but the queen did come out at the bottom of the deck, and she was backed by another queen. So 1 second. Ew, that was gross. Oh wait, it's right here. See, this is gross. I'm not about it. This is going to be longer than I anticipated because this is still one card. So, like, sometimes I do a spread like this when I'm looking for, when I do a personal, right? But if I do a personal, I'll use a significator card instead. And I'll build that up at least 3 layers, just like I did the like Aries or Aquarius third decan, and then Pisces season, and then I believe Pisces first and second decan as well. Like, this is the type of thing I do, and then I just read everything around it. And so whenever I get a run of cards that like tell a little story, I'll mention it. I'll sometimes mention the first card out. If I get like a string of majors, I'll be like, this is interesting. It's like major, 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 major. I mean, we have minor, major, minor, major, minor, major, minor, major in the second row. Like the whole set, like the second row is 9 of Wands, Hangman, 2 of Swords, the World, 6 of Swords, Death, Page of Cups, the Devil. Like major, minor, major, minor, major, minor, major, minor, major, minor, like all the way through, which is interesting. So, I mean, I guess that in itself speaks to these major. It kind of sort of feels like the escalation that's been happening since like December, when things pick up and pick up and pick up in your personal life, or at least in my personal life, and in the personal lives of people that I know. As we were closing 2019, and people are like, we're closing a whole decade's worth of karma. Fun fact, I guess like mentally we were closing decades worth of karma, so that we can be in this space where we have the opportunity to begin to clear like centuries worth of karma. So, ooh, right? And even before all of that happened, and then it's like, it's been a ride, y'all. Major, minor, major, minor, or minor, major, minor, major, minor, major, right? And then right before that 9 of Wands was the 10 of Pentacles. So a whole bunch of people probably thought 2020 was going to be their year. And then you come into the 9 of Wands, feeling victorious, maybe you like still fighting a little bit, but you battle hardened, and then boom, major, minor, boom, major, minor, boom, major, minor, boom, major. Like, what? Can I get at least like 3 minors or 2 minors before I enter another major, please? Can I catch my breath? So with this devil, ew, I'm like coughing, and then I get the hiccups. My body just don't know what to do. Too much air. Okay. It's like I'm talking too much. I need to move on. Okay. I don't have to break this all the way down. Just give an overall picture, because we fill in the details ourselves. It's general. It's not going to resonate for everybody. Blah, blah, blah. Like, the deal. Also, energy is fluid. It could play out in one of many ways, areas, sectors of your life, or type of relationship. Could be past, could be present, could be future, could be like several months down the line, future. So that's sort of like what's pushing this shadow forward is this Page of Cups. It's like it's gotten tired of, again, like everything that it eats, it goes right through its body, right? Because it's the darkness, right? It's like a black hole. It's like a void. Um, and so with this Page of Cups, it's like it's seeking something brand new. And then the challenge coming again is it having enough strength to not just go after the thing that's not going to bring it any fulfillment, right? Because it knows that it's not going to get any fulfillment. Now, the ground that the shadow is standing on, the shadow side, excuse me, is the Seven of Wands. So we have the Nine of Wands as the oncoming challenge and the Seven of Wands as the ground that it's standing on. So there's already a position of advantage. It's at an advantageous position already, right? But this, so the moon is sitting, so there's death, the Page of Cups, the shadow side, and then under the shadow side is the Seven of Wands. And so, like at the intersection of the at the intersection of the Page of Cups and the Seven of Wands is this Moon card. So now we have Pisces connected to the challenge that's coming, but also Pisces connected to the winds of change blowing at our back. And so we got a Moon Pisces with the winds of change, and we got a Hangman Pisces with the challenge. So, ooh, this poor little Capricorn don't know what to do. And then I feel like this is a lot of change for a Capricorn. I feel like this is also, dare I say it, a lot of emotion for a Capricorn. I do feel, however, that if this is more Capricornian energy than just like shadow energy in general, Capricorn does have the advantage. I feel like Capricorn is very good at creating and following plans that lead to some kind of productive change. Like that's literally what they do as cardinal Earth. And it's what Saturn does as that planet of restriction, also the planet of karma. So don't let your shadow sides bring you more karma to reap. So anyway, the Seven of Wands is the ground that you're standing on. So you're at an advantageous position regardless of what this is. You've lived enough life. You've been sick and tired and beat down, broken down, and disappointed enough to know that you don't want whatever you used to go after. Now, the sky above you could be the ceiling, could be the stars you're reaching for, is the Ten of Pentacles. And the Ten of Pentacles is all about a legacy. It's all about building a dynasty. It's like the Ten of Pentacles is the Capricorn's dream, right? Capricorn is 2 and 3 and 4 of Pentaclesing for that ultimate Ten of Pentacles, right? It's the cardinal before we get to the 10. So it establishes the foundation to make that 10 a reality. But since this is the shadow side, and since the Page of Cups, with this being the shadow, so we have the Ten of Pentacles, the Page of Cups, and the Nine of Wands, with the Seven of Wands. That's everything surrounding this shadow side. To me, this is saying that there's drama in the family somewhere. And maybe it's like love that you weren't getting from your family. And if you were getting love from your family, maybe there were expectations of you that they had that don't align with what you actually want for yourself, or their expectations of you are unrealistically high. If it's not that, then it's like you're always at odds with your family in some way. With the Seven of Wands being like the ground that you're standing on, it's like you're always at odds with them in some way. And there's a Leo energy here with the Seven of Wands that also speaks to family. There's a Virgo energy here with the Ten of Pentacles, and the Virgo energy speaks to daily routines and of health. And so maybe you live with this family that's always putting you down. But with this being a 10 of Pentacles Virgo energy, it could be the case that those dynamics are changing and healing. Because with the Seven of Wands and the Nine of Wands, it's like maybe you've stood your ground long enough that other people are beginning to buy into your vision. And then if that's the case, this could be a more healthy shadow side energy, where it's like, because the shadow side in this deck is, I mean, I feel like it highlights illusions, because I'm seeing this as like this as some kind of shadow monster projected by this light. It's like a hologram. like it's not real, but they don't know it's real, cowering behind these whatever, right? And it's like they're hiding behind these rocks or whatever, basically hiding in the dark from this projection of the light. And so it's like maybe if you came out of the dark and allow your eyes to adjust to the light, you'd be able to see that whatever this thing is in front of you, it's an apparition. It's a ghost from the past that continues to haunt you, but it has long since crossed over. And so this is like it's a very a very PSD. I'm not gonna put the T in there, but it's a very PSD, like some kind of post stress just dysfunction, because it's like the actual stress isn't there anymore, but you see it in places where it's not. But that's all coming to an end. We have the Ten of Pentacles, and so again, like that could be the shadow can also self sabotage, right? So beware of that, and then we'll move on over to this Hangman, I guess. Or actually, let's see. Let me grab one of these. I have six. Well, I have five. No, I have four. 654 may be a number that you're seeing. 654 is a 15-6, right? Because 5 and 4 is 9, so you're gonna get a 6. But I have the Hangman, the World, Death, and the Moon. So I'm gonna pull a D4 and let the die decide how I read these, instead of just going in order. So 1 will be the Hangman, 2 will be the World, 3 will be Death, and then 4 will be the Moon. Ooh, and we get the gray set, of course, because why not? That's already the vibe. And these are the majors at play right now, I guess. More generally, just kind of sort of running in the collective. It's kind of sort of dark, not gonna lie. But again, like lots of opportunity to do better, right? Because we have this, yeah, it's opportunity. This is all opportunity because we have Pisces, Capricorn, Scorpio, Pisces, and then Saturn, which is a planet. Or we could do Pisces, Capricorn, Scorpio, Saturn, and Neptune. And when it comes to Saturn and Neptune, that's an interesting dynamic. Let's see. So the first one is number 1. It's the Hangman. And I was literally about to read the Hangman. So maybe that's just a sign that I should have just did it instead of looking for confirmation. Maybe there's something that you're looking for confirmation for before you move forward with it, and it's just for you to do it. Because honestly, at the end of the day, like, I know I pull a lot of cards on here, but when it comes to my own life, I just make decisions. I just do what I want to do. And it's not that I do what I want to do. Whatever I feel like doing in the moment, I do it. Because I'm not going to wait for a piece of paper to tell me how to live my life. Because it's like, how can I ever hope to attain or achieve some level of mastery if I continue to allow tools to dictate how I proceed? Anyway, so coming to the Hangman. So the winds of change at the Hangman's back is this 9 of Wands. Now, this, for the Hangman, oh my gosh, this Hangman is lost, y'all. This is a lost Hangman. As much as I love a Hangman that is all like floating through the world, this one feels lost because this 9 of Wands is sort of like the winds of change at his back, but the 2 of Swords is the oncoming challenge. Now, the 9 of Wands is a great energy for, especially this 9, for facing an oncoming challenge, but the 9 of Wands is also on the same battlefield, fighting the same fight. And the 9 of Wands energy can be, especially with this Hangman, especially with the Hangman going into the 2 of Swords, continuing to fight a fight that's long over. It's like you've already gotten your orders to go home. You've already been told that war is over, but you're still, it's like, you're like, I will not abandon my post. So also with that 9 of Wands, I feel like there's this feeling that, and oh no, this isn't Gemini, this is Libra. But this is interesting because the South Node is in Sagittarius right now. and the winds of change at the hangman's back is the Sagittarian energy and the Nine of Wands. But let me not distract myself too much because then I'll get lost. So it's like you know that a change is coming, right? So to interact with the change that is coming, to engage with the change that is coming, to bring, it's like you're gonna have to do something different that you weren't already doing, right? It's like that fight is over. The war continues. And so it's like our line has advanced, right? I'm getting this Nine of Wands as a very frontline energy. This is a frontline energy. And so it's like the our line has advanced. So you like we need you to stay at the front line, at the front lines, or the front line, because maybe there's only one of them, right? Maybe it's a this. So it's like we need you to stay at the front lines. So and it's Sagittarius, right? And the higher aspect of Sagittarius is that continual learning as related to higher education, as related to philosophy, as related to sort of intercultural awareness at the same time. That's like backed by Jupiter, the planet of expansion. It's for you to continue growing. And so it's like we're coming into this honestly, and this is so interesting because look, we have the Nine of Wands in the east with the Two of Swords to the west. And then at the south, we have the Page of Swords, but at the north, oops, we have this King of Swords. So like, I feel like this could easily like, oh, I just had it. I keep trying to justify it, and then I lose what I'm gonna say. I should have just said it first. But it almost feels like, let me try to get it back. Well, it might be lost, so I'm gonna say it the long way. So then we have this decision coming, this decision that's our oncoming challenge. Now, to approach this like we've approached everything else is to lose this battle, is to lose this war, right? It's because we've advanced, we've grown. And so the way that we act should show that we've advanced and that we've grown, right? The ground that we're standing on is this Page of Swords truth, and the sky above us is this King of Swords truth, right? So with this page, I feel like this page energy is like this page with this Nine of Wands being the things that we've already encountered, right? This is the wind at our back. And so it's something from our past that is propelling us and pushing us forward. And this is the ground that we're currently standing on, right? The Two of Swords is the challenge coming, the land that we have yet to see. And the King of Swords is the sky above our head, the stars that we, aim to reach. And so, like these two together, this is just us being stuck in everything that we already knew, and us being so firmly rooted in that. Like you have a mutable energy here, and you have a page energy here. So to stay in this mutable energy with this page is a mistake, right? I mean, that's why people call the hangman stuck. And so it's like, don't be stuck in the way that you operated in the past, and don't be stuck in what you believed in the past. It's allow yourself to grow and evolve and change. And this growth, evolution, and change is what the universe, what spirit has been asking of us since we had the eclipse in January. That was what, right off of that Saturn Pluto conjunction, I believe. Is like we had this, was it a lunar eclipse? It has to be a lunar eclipse. I'm pretty sure. We had a lunar eclipse in January that was like right around a Saturn Pluto conjunction. We have Saturn right here with the world card. And just real quick, like, because this hangman is connected to the world, the Two of Swords is sitting between the hangman and the world. So if we want to come into this whole new world, we're going to have to make this decision. And it's probably not going to be a decision that we were making in the past, right? Because if what we were doing was working, we wouldn't be in this space, right? If normal was amazing, if normal was great, if we didn't have any issues in normal, there wouldn't be any issues now. It's like normal wasn't working for a long time. And it's like we pretty much know that, right? With the King of Swords sitting above us, like we know that. With the Page of Swords beneath us, we may be more comfortable in our foundation, but ultimately at the end of the day, we know that we need to do better. We have the Page of Swords, the Two of Swords, and the King of Swords. So the Two of Swords challenge on coming is, do I want to be a Page of Swords? Do I want to continue to be a Page of Swords? Or do I want to be a King of Swords? Or do I want to continue to be a King of Swords when I can be a Page of Swords? And that speaks to, again, I feel like whatever space you were in, you're being asked to move to a different space. This South Node Sagittarius, North Node Gemini is throwing me. I'd be getting so like I'm not lost about anything else. I'm wandering, but I'm not lost about anything else. But when it comes to South Node Sagittarius, North Node Gemini, I'm like, this could be literally anything. Because you have South Node in Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion, could be literally anything. And then you have North Node Mercury, which is like so fast and quick and all over the place, that runs between so many different people. It could be literally anything. But then I guess the poles of this node would be Pisces and Virgo. And so, where do Pisces and Virgo, like, what do they have in common? I feel like Pisces and Virgo is all about getting something in order. Pisces is about getting something spiritually and emotionally in order. Virgo is about getting something physically in order. So, with these two being the poles, it's like we need our spirituality and our physicality to line up in a way that is more than just basic law of attraction, right? We need to do more than just like thoughts become things, because Virgo is asking us, like, what are the physical, tangible things that we're doing to make these thoughts become things, right? Thoughts become things is very Pisces, but doing things to align with those thoughts to make the things is the Virgo interaction. And I think that's one thing that people, we kind of sort of look over. And I think Abraham Hicks, because I started on her last January actually. There was somebody that I thirst followed on Snapchat. I'm gonna be real honest. I thirst followed dude on Snapchat, and like, because even though I thirst followed him, I never really like looked at him. There were like two or three people that I thirst followed on Snapchat at that point, but I actually have like people that I know on Snapchat, and I just prefer to watch the people that I actually know, honestly. So I unfollowed a lot of them. But when I checked him out to see if I should unfollow or not, he had gotten into spirituality, and he was like doing like these daily meditations to Abraham Hicks. And she was saying stuff like source and like your vortex and like talking about the law of attraction. And at the same time, I was getting into it. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, what are you listening to? And at the same time, he got like less thirst trappy on his, well, I don't know. I'm assuming he got less thirst trappy because it was a thirst follow, but then it became like heavily spiritual when I started actually paying attention. Anyway, I got into Abraham Hicks about a January ago, like a previous January ago, January before last. And that was, I guess it was one of the things that's interesting. Like, I followed you for something completely different, never paid attention to you. But when I come to a space of evaluating whether or not I want you to continue to occupy space on my social, my digital social space, you're now reflecting something that I actually want. So it's almost like in preparation of this moment now, there was something that was done in the past that I didn't see the value of. But in this moment now, I need to evaluate whether or not that works in the now. Because when I followed a long time ago, it was for one thing. And even though I never really even looked at it, that's why I followed it. But now the true reason and the true purpose is being revealed to me. So I need to shift the way that I think, the way that I process, and the way that I not correspond, the way that I act and react in this space, because the dynamic is changing, right? And so that's where Sagittarian energy, that's where Jupiter falls. Jupiter falls whenever it comes to doing something, or whenever it comes to being dynamic, right? Whenever it comes to being robust. And that's where Mercury shines, because Mercury, it like that's Mercury to a T. That's Gemini. Like that's why they're all over the place, because they're supposed to be. That's their energy. That's the energy that we need to be in. And it's not for us to be all over the place, but it's for us to be sampling and for us to be testing, right? It's like we're doing the test and then forming a hypothesis, whereas Sagittarian energy is doing extensive thinking, forming extensive hypotheses, and then testing extremely methodically and extremely slowly. And in the times that we're in, we don't have time to be Sagittarius slow. We need to be Mercury quick, right? And that's kind of sort of it. Another thing, because I've been thinking about it a lot. So on my Twitter, I guess fun fact, I have a Twitter now. I talked about it the other day. So I have an Instagram at the Hierophys, and my Twitter is just at Hierophys. I already have a Twitter, and so when I went to go make a new Twitter on my Twitter, they didn't ask me to put the handle on there. So when it said name, I put the Hierophys, and so it gave me the handle of just Hierophys at Hierophys. So you know, at Hierophys on Twitter, the Hierophys on Instagram. I haven't posted on my Instagram in a minute, and I'm getting followers, which is weird to me. But hey, and I barely use my Twitter. I'm just like using it right now to jot down things that I think the South Node might be, or what the nodes might be right now. And I guess I can read a few of them for you really quick. I'm also, I just want to go on the record and say I'm procrastinating this work so hardcore. I just don't want to do it. But I need to finish. So the things I have right now: North Node, Gemini, South Node, South Node, Sagittarius could be asking us, where do we draw our boundaries, our borders? Where do we draw borders, and how do we treat and interact with those on the other side? Right. And again, that comes from like Gemini's local community, where Sagittarius is more of like the globe, the world at large. But it's like, how do we define what is our community then? And then how do we interact with things on the other side? And then earlier today, I put still working out these nodes. So it could be new experiences calling old beliefs into question. New experiences being that Gemini, mercurial, busybody type of energy. It's like the Flash, right? Going from thing to thing, right? And then South Node being the old beliefs, right? Because beliefs, philosophy, that's all Sagittarius. And so we have this Pisces sort of Virgo energy. And then we have Virgo up here sitting above Capricorn. We also have Virgo here with the Nine of Pentacles sitting below Scorpio. And the Eight of Pentacles isn't here. The Knight of Pentacles isn't here, and the Hermit isn't here. So that's the other Virgo energies. Gemini is actually right here. So Gemini is sitting below the Two of Swords, and Sagittarius is sitting above Sagittarius. So if this was past, present, future, the Nine of Wands would be in the past with Sagittarius. The Two of Swords would be Libra, balance, fairness, justice, harmony coming into the future, but harmony that is sort of backed by Cancer, which is the emotions, the heart, the feeling, and Gemini, which is kind of sort of about a new way of approaching it. It's about looking at the other side of a situation, whereas maybe we've been focused on one. Sagittarius is the archer. Sagittarius is a warrior. He's a fighter. He's a centaur. Centaur is like they're the warriors, fighters, archer. Hello. But it's about, I don't know, maybe being a little bit less of a fighter right now and being a little bit more, analytical, right? Being able to look at the other side and recognize the other side as part of you, right? They're the twins, two sides of the same coin. There's only one coin, right? So it's like North Node Gemini is realizing that there's only one coin. South Node Sagittarius is still like a us versus them type of feeling, right? South Node Sagittarius, with it being the archer, it's something that will tear you down from a distance. And so you're getting hit by these arrows. And again, I talked about the whole, like, from Naruto, there was a guy who was a close-up fighter who was fighting this range dude, 359 degrees of vision, 1 degree of blindness, but focusing on that 1 degree that you can't see instead of the 359 that you can, to actually locate where you're being attacked from, right? And that's the sort of like, that's another reason why I don't like this South Node in Sagittarius, because you're fighting an archer, right? You're probably fighting a whole army of archers, because I don't think centaurs too much, roam by themselves. Like they kind of do. Like I don't think it's like one. It might be like two or three, or a little family of them. You know what I mean? So you're catching all these arrows, not knowing where they're coming from, not knowing like the distance that they're coming from. And so we do need to focus on our local community with Gemini being in the North Node, but we also need to realize that some of the things are being backed from a distance, and that this is going to require great distance moving from the South Node to the North Node. Like lots of things need to happen, because Sagittarius is that Jupiter. It's almost like, to leave this world behind, we're going to have to enter a whole new world, because Sagittarius more or less is a world energy. It's that global travel, it's intercultural, right? And so, like, that's the leaps of understanding that we're going to have to cross before we can exit that territory, right? Just like with South Node and Capricorn, it asks us to look at maybe law and look at government. And so it's like, you can't necessarily build a new government within that government, right? Sometimes you have to like start over, or if you build it down, you have to build it back. If you break it down, you have to build it back up. And honestly, Capricorn is a build it up energy. And so if it's already there and you're building something, how are you going to build it if it's already there, right? Maybe you got to get rid of it. Maybe you got to change some things. But anyway, Sagittarius is the cardinal. And it's also interesting that the sun goes cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable. But the nodes go cardinal, mutable, fixed, cardinal, mutable, fixed. So before we can be fixed again, whereas the sun would be like, where we're in mutable now, mutable sun moving into a cardinal space. But the next time the nodes transition, they'll be moving into a fixed space, right? And so it's like the nodes, anyway, according to the nodes, we have to change things now before we can be fixed, right? And that's the thing. Again, that's the danger with South Node Sagittarius. I feel like Jupiter is so expansive. You could think that you're making change, but in reality, you're not, right? Because it's like, walk a mile in an ant's shoes and see how far you are in people's steps. You know what I mean? And a mile is a mile regardless. But a mile to an ant feels different than a mile to a person, right? And that's more of that Gemini energy, because Sagittarius, and I'm about to move on after this, but Sagittarius would be like, well, a mile is a mile, and a ton of bricks weighs the same as a ton of feathers. They're both a ton. But Gemini is like, okay, well, so if I ask you to dive into a ton of feathers and to dive into a ton of bricks, right? Would you rather swim in dive into a pool of water, or dive into a pool of gold where, you might break something? If you can't swim through gold like Scrooge McDuck does in the cartoons. Gemini's like, that's not how it works in real life. Sagittarius is like, well, on the TV, that's what he did. Or Sagittarius is like, if I invent this thing that doesn't exist in reality right now, that allows me to engage and interact with matter in a different way, then effectively I'd be able to swim through gold just as I'd be able to walk through a wall with the same technology. And Gemini is like, okay, well, A, do we have the technology? A, or B, do you have the technology? C, is that feasible for everybody? D, are you just making this up to say something? Like, both Sagittarius and Gemini can be talkers. But anyway, can you tell that I have Sag and Gem in my chart? They're actually my nodes, but they're my anti-nodes. My North Node is in Sagittarius. My South Node is in Gemini. So I'm all too comfortable being all over the place. Like, I feel like the world should be more like me right now. Because it's like the space that I'm coming out of with my South Node being in Gemini is the space that the world is coming into with the North Node being in Gemini right now. But it's also for me to continue to go into the space that I'm supposed to be in. So it's like I'm supposed to be entering the space that the world is coming at. It's weird. I don't know. I'm an individual. The world is the world. This hangman is in an interesting position, stuck between indecision and continuing to do everything that it's found success with in the past. And that's another, like, the things in the past were working for some people, right? And so for the people in which things are working, for the people who aren't as sort of involved or directly affected by this, it's really easy to be like, well, that's not my community, blah, 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 whatever. But in reality, it's still asking you to look at and to question things. And that's going to be the challenge. Also, she's blindfolded. So, hey, just because you don't see it, doesn't mean it's not real. South or to the south, the ground that we're standing on is the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords, I feel like being everything that we've learned in the past. And again, it's like just like after you go through school, after you do it, after you take it, because I always talk about math, after you take a few math classes, you know that there are some things that you were told that you couldn't do in the past that you learned that you can do in life. You're told as a child that there are things that you shouldn't do, but when you become adult, you can do it. Drinking, smoking, maybe saying some bad words, maybe watching a certain movie, right? If you ain't 18 or 17, then you can't watch them 17, 18 plus movies, whatever. Once you become of age, once you are developed enough that you have capacity to understand this, then it's your responsibility to do more and to learn more. And that is like that applies to the world right now. Just because you were raised a certain way, just because you were taught to believe a certain thing, it is the reality of what it is, but that does not absolve you of the responsibility to learn more, to do more, and to question what you believe. North Node, Gemini, South Node, Sagittarius, questioning what you believe and acting in alignment with it, right? North Node, Gemini, action, South Node, Sagittarius, thoughts, right? Like sending your thoughts and prayers and your good vibes and your positivity might have worked if the South Node wasn't in Sagittarius, but right now North Node is in Gemini. Gemini backed by Mercury, Mercury the magician. It's time to do something. And if you're not doing anything right now, then don't think that anything is going to be done for you. Point blank, period. Quite simply. The sky above us is this King of Swords. King of Swords is Aquarian energy. Aquarian energy is the future. Like literally the star. The stars above us are the stars above us. We're never going to reach the stars if we don't make ships and go out there, right? We can't lasso the stars and pull them to us. And if we pull the stars to us, we probably burn up because stars are hot, right? Like the whole planet would catch fire. Whereas, no, you can get your little climate controlled ship or whatever, get your little climate controlled spacesuit, and then you can go to a star where you can adjust for the differences in heat and stuff like that. Also, fun fact, apparently the sun is like brighter than 85% of the planets in our solar system. So I saw it yesterday when I was looking at stuff. So yes, it's not the brightest star in our solar system, but apparently it's pretty bright. So hey, just have to clear that up because if ever I come across information, I like to clear it up. You know what I mean? It's like I can admit when I miss talk or misspeak or whatever. Because I'm much more interested in growth, right? So next, I guess I'll pull the dice. Oop. We can get either 2, 3, or 4. Oh, well, the die just fell on the floor, and if I can't, oh, it's right here. I found it. Number 2. So no, actually, this is 3. Sorry, number 3. So we're going to death. So we went from the hangman. Now we're going to death, and the world is in the middle. Perfect. So at Death's back is the Six of Swords. The winds of change are propelling this Death card forward. So the things that are changing and happening in the world right now are going to change and are going to happen regardless. But it's not for you to get comfortable in the fact, it's not for you to think that you don't have to do anything because things are going to be done anyway, right? Because let's say that for whatever reason, I'll just say it like this. A whole bunch of people have been talking about timelines converging for a minute now. That we may also be encountering the space where they diverge again, right? And so if you don't do anything, and you find yourself on a timeline where, people are like, oh, we've done enough, we can stop now, and then it doesn't lead to any lasting change because we haven't really overhauled anything. People say that we've done this and we've done that and we've made strides in these areas, and we have, but we haven't really overhauled or fully addressed anything. And so the issues that we had in the past we continue to have. And if you're, like I posted on my Facebook earlier today, if you are one bad leader, or if you are if you're one bad leader or permission away from doing something that you shouldn't have been doing, like, you already had a problem, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Ain't nobody make all these horses drink all this water, right? Now, the water was brought to the horses, but these horses are drinking themselves because these horses have low key or high key, as we've been saying. These horses have been thirsty. They just didn't think that they can drink the water. So if you are permission away from doing something, if you are like, I didn't think I would face any consequences away from doing or saying something, you already had a problem and you were probably already a part of the problem, right? And it's not for us to need these dark nights of the soul. Like, why do we need something to come in to pull the rug up and be like, look at all this stuff you haven't cleaned? When your mama told you to clean your room the first time, if you would have cleaned your room the first time, she wouldn't have had to like pull the rug to reveal all the mess that you've been sweeping under the rug for decades, centuries, years, whatever, right? With these placements, right? With all that stuff going on in Capricorn with Pluto, first it happened, now it's happening again, and then it's going to happen another time for at least Jupiter. It's like, if we don't clean this up now, we're going to be facing the same thing again. History doesn't have to repeat itself. Like, we can actually change this, right? This, all of this, and this is all I'm going to say. Okay, I'll just pull them all up. Oops, the moon card just flipped over. All of this around the death card means that we can actually like change things now and we don't have to repeat this later. Like, let's do a deep clean now, you know. Let's do a deep clean. Let's get the Clorox. Let's get the bleach. Let's get down in there. Let's put down, I don't know, the antifungal whatever to prevent the mold from growing again. And let's handle it the right way. Because if we continue to band-aid and if we continue to sweep under the rug, we're never going to get to where we're going. And I feel like all eyes are on us right now. We're at the center of the ring. People are looking at this planet like it's a gosh darn freaking circus. People are looking at this country like it's a gosh darn freaking circus. People are seeing this country for the show that it's been the whole time. But we changed directors, and so it's like, we've been doing we've been like seeing all these things. It's like, it's so funny that we come up with all of these allegories for the actual problems that we have in this country and that we have in the world, not just this country. We come up with allegories and stories of the problems that we have all over the world, and we call it fantasy. And then we neglect the actual problems that we have in the world. But I guess that also mirrors the fact that we come up with these stories and we call them fantasy, and then we treat the real life problems as illusions as well. It's a direct correlation, and I shouldn't be surprised. And it's very like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt when she went to it's like a horror themed, what do you call them? It's like a musical lead type place where you go and eat and stuff. But its theme was horror, and she's in there laughing, and she's like, this is what people think is scary. Like, and that's one reason also why, like, I'm kind of sort of low key not affected by horror movies as much anymore, because like the things in my life that I actually fear I've faced and I am facing. So this is not as scary to me because like there are actual like real life, real world problems. Um, and so yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, I don't know. So that's the death card. I mean, the winds of change are at death's back. We're going forward into this page of cups, something completely brand new. And when you enter it, so this is like right here. This tells me this is page of cups 2.0. This is not page of swords 2.0. Well, it's not. This is an archaic page of swords right here. And this is a king of swords, just like, now. Like if you had eyes and a functioning brain, you'd be able to see that there's a problem. But if you wanted to be more complacent with this Knight of Wands, like the King of Swords is looking at this Knight of Wands like, really? Like for real? This Knight of Wands is like, oh, this Knight of Wands Sagittarius, that's a real Pisces Sagittarius right there. That's a Sagittarius that has gone to the feminine side of Jupiter and has somehow managed to find its way in Neptune. Anyway, so that's the death card. At the feet of death is this lasting change, right? I feel like this is us disrupting comfort for the sake of actual equality, actual equity of something that actually fulfills us, right? Because like physical, tangible things are not going to fill voids in emotional spaces, right? You can fill your house with stuff, but you can't fill your heart. And that's like, and then like again, with this being the oncoming challenge, with this being the space that we're looking to move into, with this being the sky, the stars that we look to for guidance, it's all about emotional fulfillment. And this is also something that's going to be brand new. The two, it starts with the ace, but the two is the actual beginning, right? The ace is just the limitless space of potential within that space. It's like the ace is everything within that space, but the two is where you actually begin, right? It's cardinal. Cardinal is 2, 3, 4. The ace and the page is just representative of that element in general, right? The ace and the page, that's the potential, right? But it's time for us to actually begin to actualize and realize some of that. So we're coming into something more emotionally, very, 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 very deep fulfillment with that Scorpio energy coming out of everything in the past. And what we're coming out of is this old world. And I'm going to be reading the world next. What we're coming out of is that old world. And again, this is connected, this death is connected to the shadow. So you can see that these all of these waters, you see like death is looking in the direction of this shadow sign. You can also see that the wave is picking up behind and it's moving towards the shadow. So, hey, so a lot of this stuff had to be brought to the surface so that we could see it and hopefully do something because people want to act like they can't see. So it's like even if you can't see, you're gonna see this. This is like Bird Box that they started going after the blind people as well. It's like it doesn't matter if you can see me or not. If you are looking in my direction, you get snatched. Eyes open, eyes closed. You face in my direction, you get snatched. That's this energy right here. And it's better to be at the top of the wave than to be right under it. And again, that Page of Cups is sitting right under this Page of Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles is what's forming this constellation in the sky between the Two of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles, right? So this is actually like we have the desire to connect on a deeper level between us on a more mental, or not mental, on a more spiritual, emotional level. But in the stars, on a more practical, like what we actually do, it's about Two of Cups and coming together to make a like legacy, a dynasty where we can all flourish, right? And judgment isn't here, but there is definitely a judgment here. And whenever it comes to judgment, whenever it comes to justice, it's all about the heart anyway, right? So for all the people who want to not do whatever, you will be judged. You know that, right? They, was it? I can't remember, but the Egyptian, I'm pretty sure it's a god who waves your heart against a feather, and if your heart is lighter than a feather, then you know you get to go to the good place. Speaking about feathers and bricks, right? If your heart is lighter than a feather, then you go to a better place. If your heart is heavier than a feather, then you get to repeat the same cycle. And so, honestly, low key, if timelines need to diverge, then by all means, I feel like Avatar Kyoshi, when they go to the island and they try Aang for murder, and Aang is like, I ain't done murdered nobody. And then Avatar Kyoshi show up and she's like, yep, I did it and I would do it again. Shin the Conqueror, y'all talking about Shin the Great, like he was this great man. Shin was a conqueror. He was Shin the Conqueror back in my day. And I told him that he was not going to take my land and he ain't back. I'm like, I'm the mother freaking Avatar, and this mortal approaches me, telling me he's about to claim my island. So what I did was I broke our island off from the mainland, and that's why we's an island now. And he was so gosh darn determined to take my land that when I split the earth, he fell into the sea. Instead of backing up and doing whatever, he was so attached to that old earth that he fell into the sea and he died. And then they're like, yeah, your Shin the Great wasn't that great. He was a conqueror. Sorry. And it was his own blind ambition that led to his own downfall. Because you can't take and 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 take from anything. It's just like a virus, right? If you, it's basically if something is too effective at taking, it can't spread, right? Because it takes. Like, where are you going to spread to? You took everything. There are no more resources for you to utilize, right? It's like if you have a little kid that's always, or I mean, sometimes cookies are good, that's always in the cookie jar. And if you never refill the cookie jar, it's like, why are you surprised that there are no cookies in here? You ate all of them before we had an opportunity to go and buy more cookies, right? And it's in Avatar. It may be season 2 or 3. I don't remember which book it's in, but there's Kyoshi Island. I'm pretty sure it's Kyoshi Island or some kind of island. It got to be Kyoshi Island. And she was like, "Yup, take my land." So I split off from the mainland, and then he fell into the sea. So hey, it was it was a what they call it, an unfortunate consequence, but this separation had to happen, right? I had to break off from the mainland because the mainland was full of some foolishness, and y'all was letting Shin the Conqueror just run rampant. And it ain't my job to fix all y'all problems, but it is my job to protect my people. So hey, he fell into the water, and then we got this Page of Cups right here. So I don't know. Anyway, moving forward, the Page of Cups under that Page of Pentacles is very that energy. She went that avatar state and she said, boom, and boom. And she split that earth and then she hit him with the wind and pushed away. Then he fell into the ocean. Maybe I'm not going to attach a clip in the description box, but actually, I'm going to put a little clip in the description box because why not? Right. So last but not least, no, we're moving to this world card now. So the world card has the Two of Swords as the winds of change. It has the Six of Swords as the challenge coming. It has the Three of Swords as the ground it's standing on, and it has the Five of Pentacles as the sky above it. And this feels very dark. This is very old world because it's like, how do you have Two of Swords? Like, what is this? This? Oh, this is giving me vibes of like there's this music video by Caravan Palace. It's called Moon something. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna put that in the description too. Actually, I'm not. I will put Avatar in the description, but I'm not putting this song in there. I know it's Caravan Palace. It's I think it's Moonshine. I think, but don't quote me. Caravan Palace. Some of their music videos be a little graphic. I was like, oof, this is too much for me. Yeah, it is Moonshine. Caravan Palace Moonshine. Anyway, there's this dude who comes into the knowledge that the earth is flat. And so there's a lot of symbolism of someone or something like hitting the wall of something. It's like a rubber duck in his bathtub. It's a little toy robot at a glass window. It's a fly in his drink, and he drinks the fly. Don't ask me why, but he drinks the fly. Again, don't ask me why he drinks the fly, but he drinks the fly. I don't know why I got that. It's like Lord of the Rings. That's what it is. It's Lord of the Rings. And I just saw this. I like hardly ever get on Tumblr anymore, but I was on Tumblr. And apparently in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings or whatever, and what's the Silmarillion? I don't know where it would have been. I don't read like that. Those books are way too long and I don't have the attention span. Now, if it was a book on like mythology, then maybe I'd read it. Because apparently those are like the only books that I read. But it's like the world used to be flat, but somebody got talking about another Shin the Conqueror. Somebody got a little bit too ambitious and was going to go conquer the Elven realms. And the Elven realms were at the edge of the world. And so, in order to prevent that from happening, what they did was they curved the world for all of the non-elven races. And so now elves are the only ones that can go to that realm because, like, they're the only ones for which the world still acts as flat. But for everyone else, they see it as curved, and it is curved. So when they travel, when they take that boat, right, what they do is they come back around and they're like, oh my gosh, the world is round because this is what we do when we do it. Now the elves, they take that boat and they keep on going to the elven realms that are off camera that we can't see right now. And it's also, I guess, that reason that they say that elves have such good sight because they still see the earth is flat. There's no curvature of the earth, right? And so again, I guess that would be like their eyes aren't necessarily better. They just see the world in a different way. And because they see the world in a different way, they're able to perceive much further than someone else. This is interesting. All of this like conqueror sort of tie in, right? So I'm not just going off of whatever. It's actually tying into the story. Or maybe my brain is building the story based off of what's already happened and taking it to its needs. But this it speaks to the loop that we've been trapped in. Like these are cycles, right? This is ruled by Saturn, fixed energy. So we see the lion for okay, in this deck. There's the lion for Libra. Libra. Ooh, Libra's getting some courage. Well, Libra's right here, I guess. There's the lion for Leo. There's the deer. This is representative of Taurus, but that's actually so this is the world tree. There's a deer on the world tree, and then there's a bird on the world tree. And then this would be an angel. So the bird is Scorpio. It's usually like an eagle. The bull or the deer is Taurus, and then the angel is Aquarius. And so these are all fixed energies, right? And so the next energy that we go into is going to be a fixed energy. And so I just feel like, I don't necessarily like this too much because, well, this is accurate. It's like, so the ground that this world is standing on is rooted in heartbreak. This heartbreak is related to how we treat each other, it's related to how we treat our planet, and it's related to not only how we treat it, but also how we sort of view it in a mental emotional space. And so there's a lot of just pain that is in the soil. And I feel like it's actually better for us to address this before the South Node shifts into Scorpio. Because Scorpio, like when that comes, like with Scorpio, Scorpio is just going to intensify everything that's under the surface, everything that's less addressed. So this is actually a great opportunity for us to not only step up and to do this, but to prevent further. Like if this is what it looks like now, energetically, just imagine what it'll feel like when the South Node is in Scorpio, right? And actually, let's go 18 months into the future, shall we? So send email. What? Why is Gmail telling me to send an email? Hello? I ain't got nobody to email. Also, on Animal Crossing, I have this cute little teacup. She says teacup. I have this cute little elephant. Her name is Tia. And like every time I talk to her for several days, she would be like, I'm a really good listener if you need to talk. I'm like, okay, Tia. But then yesterday she said something different. So I was like, okay, well maybe I said something that I needed to say. What am I looking for? I'm looking for. I use Time Nomad. It's probably on Android too. I love Time Nomad. I also have Astro Matrix, but whenever I'm checking a transit or something, I use Time Nomad. I did buy the add-on for it's like 8 or 9 asteroids and stuff. But let's go 18 months into the future, shall we? So that's 1 year and 6 months. So that'll put us back at January, right? January. Or that put us in December. 6/12, December. I can do math sometimes. So December 9th, 2021, and this time. So Aries will be empty. Uranus will be 11 degrees in Taurus in retrograde. Uranus will be retrograde in Taurus. Empty, 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 empty. Mars is going to be in Scorpio, 27 degrees. Oof. Hold on, wait. South Node is still going to be Sagittarius. What? People be saying 18 months. That's 18 months, ain't it? Okay, well, then let's go to 2021. Hold up, wait. Yeah, that should be it. Wait, I'm already in 2021. So 2022. Let's go 2. No, let's go 222, 2022. Yeah, that makes sense, right? 222. So February 22nd, 2022. 222, 2022. 222, 2022 too. Hey. So the South Node, how is the South Node going to be 26 degrees Scorpio? How we 4 whole degrees into Scorpio? Hello? When 2 months prior, we were still in Sagittarius. So that node must be flying. For it to go like, what, 5 degrees in 2 months? I don't think it moves that fast. But hey, maybe it does, you know? So anyway, at this time, so this is 2/22, 2022. I'm looking at planets. I'm ignoring asteroids. So Uranus will be, oh wow, Uranus will still be 11 degrees Taurus, but it'll not be retrograde anymore. It'll be direct. The North Node will be 26 degrees Taurus. The Moon will be in Scorpio, and the South Node will be in Scorpio. So we're gonna have no, because the Sun is in Pisces. Okay, never mind. So the Moon and the South Node will be in Scorpio. Venus will be in Capricorn. Mars will be in Capricorn. Wow. So this is right before a Mars-Venus conjunction in Capricorn. Pluto will still be in Capricorn. Wow. Okay. So 2/22, 2022. We had Jupiter, Saturn, and Capricorn, and then Pluto, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, and Capricorn this year. So in less than 2 years, we're going to have Venus and Mars in Capricorn conjuncting. And Pluto's also going to be in Capricorn still. Mercury is going to be in Aquarius. Saturn is going to be in Aquarius. Ooh! Is that before or after my Saturn return? I think that's before my Saturn return. I think my Saturn is like 23 degrees. The Sun will be in Pisces, Jupiter will be in Pisces, and Neptune will be in Pisces. So we'll have Jupiter and Neptune both in Pisces when the South Node shifts into Scorpio. I actually want to see if this will give me the date and time. So January 18th, 2022 at 3:50 a.m. Eastern US time, the South Node will be crossing the Scorpio Sagittarius cusp. So let's go to that, shall we? Okay. So when it crosses over, I don't know why I'm doing all this, but bear with me. So when it crosses over, Uranus will be direct, but it'll be 10 degrees, 49 minutes Taurus. The North Node will be 29 degrees, 55 minutes Taurus. This is at 2:48 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. The Moon will be in Leo. South Node, Scorpio. Mars will actually be in Sagittarius. Venus will be retrograde in Capricorn. So Venus is retrograde now in Gemini. 2022 is going to be retrograding in Capricorn. Pluto and the Sun are both going to be in Capricorn. And there's going to be, so at this time, there's going to be like a 2-degree conjunction between Pluto and the Sun. While Venus is like, Venus is pretty much out of the picture. Venus is at 13, Pluto is at 26, and the Sun is at 28. Mercury will be retrograde in Aquarius. Saturn will be direct in Aquarius. Jupiter and Neptune will both be in Pisces. But Jupiter is 4 degrees Pisces and Neptune is 21 degrees. So there's like an 18-degree loose conjunction. Like a lot of people wouldn't even call that a conjunction, but they're both in the same sign. So Jupiter and Neptune will both be in Pisces when the nodes shift into Scorpio and Taurus. So like we think that like Neptune and Pisces is bad now, but while we do have the little bit of clarity that we do have, right? Like I said, like there is so much pain and trauma tied to the earth that she is trying to bring to the surface now for us to cleanse it. Because it's like, you know, it's almost like we, even though we may not have been in these incarnations when all of that stuff happened, as vessels on this planet that have DNA tied to this planet, that has trauma stored in these vessels and in this DNA related to this planet, it's like it's up for us to really clear all of that now, and we can't clear it if, you know, we ignore it. But it's up for us to clear it now, because if we don't address this when the nodes shift into like Scorpio and Taurus, if Taurus is a sign associated with the earth and Scorpio being like Pluto, everything like just like under the surface, it's like it's being brought to the surface now before it like rocks us. And then both Jupiter and Neptune are going to be in Pisces. So it's like if we can't see through things now, if we can't navigate now, like what hope are we going to have when that happens? Because there's like this, like backed by Scorpio, it can be a lot more intense. And then people are going to be like, you know, don't focus on all of the emotions being brought up right now. Focus on your job, focus on your money, focus on getting stuff. And it's not for us to not focus on that, because what is North Node Taurus? North Node Taurus is all about worth and value, right? South Node Scorpio is kind of sort of about other people. And like Taurus is like us for us. Scorpio is like others for us or us for others, right? And that's more of like a personal finances versus taxes type of thing, right? Personal pool versus community pool. But also with that, it brings to question, I don't know, I'm not an astrologer. Let me keep doing this. That's just what's happening, okay? So the Three of Swords is below us and the Five of Pentacles is above us. Now, the Five of Pentacles in this deck, to me, it looks like a tree, although it is kind of sort of bare. These pentacles are still on the tree. And it's all about rising out of this cold permafrost ground, right? Rising into something new. I feel like this is more so the fate of the old world. And I guess like I've seen the Lord of the Rings movies because I was bored and I had like a month to pass with access to DVDs in one of my dorms before school started. So I watched the Lord of the Rings, and at the end of the movie, Frodo gets on the boat, right? And so I'm guessing like Frodo is granted access to go to those elven realms, but he still needs an elf to take him, because if the boat isn't guided by an elf, then it will wrap around the planet. And so, okay, in order for us to proceed forward, those who would call themselves light workers need to be the directors of these ships. to guide this planet beyond the curvature that we've been forced into because of our nature, honestly, or because of, and again, I guess that's coming into the shadow right here. That's it's all in the same row again, um, because of like mankind's previous history with giving into that more animalistic consume, 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 conquer, take shadow. And so it's because of that rapid consumption, that almost parasitic behavior, that now we have to curve the earth to keep them from, affecting the last of what remains pure, right? That's why we can't even see unicorns and fairies and elves and gnomes. That's why, in the Bible, they talk about like dragons and stuff, but we don't actually see it. And somebody was like, well, it's like a metaphor. It's like a whatever. And I'm like, well, like you have dragons in the Bible. It talks about Leviathan and other things, and it's like in some ways it's like, why would it be? I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it. It's about us carrying the vibration. Also, the Six of Swords. It's about, in some part, clarified by the Nine of Swords sitting right here. It's about, in some part, us taking as many swords as we can with us. Right. It's about transmuting it to reduce the energetic barrier, the energetic boundary. Last but not least is this moon card. And so the change behind to the east of the moon is this Nine of Pentacles, Virgo energy. So we have Virgo and Pisces sitting right next to each other. Now the oncoming challenge is this energy, Seven of Wands. So it's a little bit contentious, but it's about working together, right? It's about coming to a common ground. And like we have Virgo energy and Pisces energy with the Nine of Pentacles and the moon. And then to the south, we have this Page of Pentacles, and to the north, we have this Page of Cups. So again, it's about coming together, moving forward in a harmonious way that maybe we haven't done so in the past before. And it's not for us to know how to do it. Again, this is all around the moon. And like maybe that's the element that Neptune is playing, right? Like Neptune in excess is illusion, it's all of that stuff. But Neptune in good measure is a vision, right? And like Neptune in square is amazing. Neptune in opposition, probably not as good, because I feel like Neptune in opposition can carry the energy of like seeing things as worse than what they are. But Neptune in square and Neptune in sextile are better. Neptune in conjunction or in a straight up opposition, that's when you got to worry about whether you're seeing something the right way. But it's like with Neptune being in square, it's like we're getting the medicine of Neptune without getting like the overdose. And that's literally what medicine is. Medicine, like anything in excess, can be toxic, right? It's about taking something in the right dosage for it to be effective. It's almost this microdosing energy. Like Neptune is microdosing us right now in Pisces, because it's like, it's further from that conjunction. It's actually sliding into, so when we had the lunar eclipse, um new moon, full moon Sagittarius, that was like around 15 degrees. Neptune is at like 20. So like as Neptune, and what was Neptune, like 22 degrees or something when I looked? So Neptune is like slow. Neptune is going to be 21 degrees January 18, 2022. It's going to be 21 degrees. It's like 20 degrees now. I'm pretty sure it's going to retrograde, and then it's going to go direct. But it's going to move like 1 degree between then and now. See, look, I'm going to show y'all this. Y'all see that? 21 degrees, and then Jupiter is 4 degrees. Can y'all see those? There you go. And then we got Pallas right there. Pallas is going to be conjuncting Neptune, so maybe that'll be helpful. Or maybe she'll just make us think that we're doing something helpful, and we're actually not. Oh, wow. Mars is 18 degrees Neptune right now. Mars is really close, or Mars is 18 degrees Pisces. It's really closing in on Neptune. You see Neptune at 20 degrees and 54 minutes now. Oh, that planet's so slow. So it's gonna be there for a minute. But regardless, so actually the nodes are gonna be it's like the nodes are gonna be closing in on Neptune instead of Neptune closing in on the nodes. Anyway, I've been live for like almost 2 hours. What am I even talking about? I don't know. I do know, but it's like it's kind of sort of all over the place. But it's not. So with this moon card, the winds of change at its back is this nine of pentacles related to this queen of pentacles right here. This is the queen after, oh, I showed you all the nines. Well, here's the queens. So you see like Miss Queen of Pennies right there, and then here's Miss Queen of Pennies right here. This is a very like Joan of Arc type of energy. So this speaks to an element of prophecy. It's very what's her name? Is it Esther or Ruth? Or both of them in the Bible? But it's very Joan of Arc, right? Joan of Arc is just like minding her business in the garden, and then she becomes Joan of Arc. This is Queen of Pentacles minding her business in the garden, and then she becomes this Queen of Pentacles. But this is all about earthly value, right? The winds of change is earthly value. With the page of Pentacles being the ground that this stands on, I feel like this is like there's this energy of Gaia reclaiming her beauty, right? But in order for her to do that, she's going to need for us to treat her better because it's like she can't, it's like she's the mom and we're the children. She cleans up a mess. And, you know, while she's cleaning one mess, we're in another part of the house making another mess. And then while one kid is in another part of the house crayoning the walls, you have two kids that are fussing and fighting. And the sky is at work, right? So he ain't even there on the planet. Like we down here doing all kinds of stuff. She's like needing help. So she's in this space where she's putting us all in timeout. She's like, okay, everyone's going in timeout. While you're in timeout, number one, I'm going to have time to clean up this mess. And then, you know, you see all these articles and all these reports about while the entire world has been in lockdown, this skyline is cleared up, pollution is down, you know, nature is bouncing back a little bit. The air is getting a little cleaner because we ain't out polluting it. We're not as hustle and bustle with all that emission from the cars and stuff like that. Um, Also, at the same time, it's like the kids that were fighting in timeout, she's making them sort of sit down and reconcile and come to a consensus. And it's like, again, it's like she's preparing herself for this transformation. But for her to come into it, we as people who are like in the car with her, basically, it's her car and we're just ride alongs. We are along for the ride. And so that's what this energy is with the page of cups in the sky and the page of pentacles on the ground. And then the challenge coming forward is the seven of wands, right? Because although this is an advantageous position, it's not a guaranteed victory. So it's like, you know, we're being put in this spot where everything that we've been energetically aligning to is coming in. There's so much like love and light out there that is really pushing some people who would otherwise be on the edge or be closer to the middle, pushing them towards one side or the other. Now, I feel like it's like there are energies on both sides of the situation that would stand to benefit from division, right? And so it's not to look at either side when we talk about physical earthly matters. It's not necessarily to look at either side, or it's not to villainize either side necessarily. But in order for us to come to a consensus, like we're going to have to listen to each other. And historically, because of all of the systems in place, there's going to be one side that has to listen more, right? Like if you're on step number 25, somebody else is on step number 5, and somebody else is on step number 10, and some people are like 20, 22, and 24. Like if we're getting everyone to the same page, 25 is probably going to have to do the most listening. and then 10 is going to have to do the most talking, and then those in between are going to have to do both to listen to the 10 and to speak to the 25, and it's to get us all there, right? And so then as the 10, passes the 15, the 20, and the 22 on the way to the 25, or if we're all going to 30 or whatever, right? Then it's like as it meets the 15, as it meets the 20, then the 10 will also have to listen. That's why it's like, let's do this all at once in one fell swoop, right? It's like, let's see if I can use, no, I don't have a platform that's like really sturdy. Oh, I have this, right? Okay, I have a few bags of dice and I have this. Oops, I don't want any of these to spill out. So a little demonstration time. I'll just use two, right? Let's say, can you see this? Yes. Let's say I want to get these up here. And so if I do this, first this bag back here moves, but as I move it forward, then the other bag begins to move, and then boom, they're both at the edge, right? It's a this. So even though like things may not be all in the same space, if we come into really, if we really come into that space of wanting for everything to balance out for everyone, it will. And again, it's going to require more speaking on some parts, more listening on other parts, speaking and listening on some parts, and like direction and stuff like that. Anyway, I feel like this is kind of sort of fitting right now. Again, the majors were the Hangman, the World, um, Death, the Devil, and the Moon. So no suns here. Hangman, the World, Death, the Devil, and the Moon. It looks kind of grim, but once you face the shadow, then the light comes out. Where's Apollo, man? Apollo's like, well, it doesn't matter if the sun comes out if everyone has their eyes closed. Anyway, I guess I'm gonna get one final message out of these cards. Oof, that hurt. And then I really need to get to work. I've been procrastinating, y'all, because it's like I want to do it, and like honestly, at this point, I don't need an A+. I just need this mess to be done. And so I feel like I'm overthinking things, and I can be a little bit of a perfectionist somewhat. And so I feel like I'm trying not to get stuck in doing everything perfect, but I still want to get it right. You know what I mean? This is my own challenge I'm dealing with right now. Also, I want some food. I'm getting hungry. Okay, let's get a final message. It'd be amazing if you just like jumped out. Oop, right? That would be so cool if you just like jumped out or flipped out. Okay, well. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. Bottom of the deck is this Knight of Wands again. I guess with the Knight of Wands again, it's about reprioritizing. And it's about when we really look at the value of things, the things that we desire change. When we look at how what we desire is a reflection of us, maybe the things that we desire change. And when we desire change, the things that we desire changes. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards that came out. First card is the Wheel of the Year. This is change happening this year, right? This is also Jupiter energy. So, hey, next is the Seven of Wands again. So, this is us being at a place of advantage when it comes to the things changing. But we're people, we are human, so we can still F it up. We have all of this advantage in this situation. Like the Seven of Wands is a few steps from it being over, but we've already claimed some victories. And with these victories that we've already claimed, they've given us advance. Front lines have advanced. We are advancing on the darkness. The light is winning, but the darkness can win if the light, it's like if we pull out the fight before it's over. The darkness can still win if we don't address everything that we need to address right now. Because there are things that are like at boiling at the surface right now that needs to be addressed. And then there are other things. It's like there are these volcanic vents under the surface. And so at the surface we see things boiling up. And it's like we're handling that. But if the pressure, if the lines under the surface aren't addressed, then it's just going to happen again, right? If you clean up the ocean, but you don't fix the leaky pipes under the ocean, and if you keep putting oil in there, it doesn't matter how many times you clean it. If you don't fix the pipes, if you don't stop oil while you fix the pipes, there's still going to be an issue. So we can still mess it up, but we're in a good position. Next, oh, here's the victory. We claimed victories in the past to get to this point. We just need to claim a few more. Just claim a few more. Don't quit now. We will be victorious. And then here's the five. What is up with this, y'all? Okay, let's talk about this. Because we go from the Seven of Wands to the Six of Wands to the Five of Wands. That could be de-escalation. What's next? Oh, the World. And then what's last? The Nine of Swords. Okay, of course. So I thought this was going somewhere good. I think it is. So this year things are happening. This year things are changing. This year things are coming together. And there's already like the wheel is already turning, but we can still mess it up. We can stop the wheel, right? But we're in this place of advantage, and there are these minor victories that are happening. And maybe with the Five of Wands, maybe this right here is the energy of instead of okay, this works both ways. Instead of looking at the good things right now, we're focusing on the bad, right? Or if you are only paying attention to one thing, then you are reliant upon that thing's ability to broadcast to you the entire story. Now, if that thing has an agenda, if that source has an agenda, they're not going to give you the entire story because they have an agenda, and whatever they show is going to align with that agenda. Again, there are entities, there are energies on both sides of the situation that would seek to have it continue, right? And it's about recognizing where the issues are when there are issues, and it's about tuning out the distractions, right? So regardless of the side that you are on, it's about tuning out the distractions on that side and focusing on what's actually important. And also with that Five of Wands, I feel like we run the risk as the situation de-escalates, we run the risk of getting complacent, right? It's like we have too much stuff under the rug, and that's why we have to pull back the rug. And so it's like if we only clean up a little bit, and then whatever, like we don't like we get tired of cleaning, so we push the other stuff back under the rug. Well, if we push it back under the rug, we're just gonna come back to the same situation. And so I feel like it's not for that to happen. With this World card and with this Nine of Swords, I feel like this is us knowing that something needs to change, but maybe not necessarily knowing how to do it. I honestly feel like this is like more so like being in that space of we can't make any changes because we don't know how. And that's just lazy, honestly. And it's untrue. Like, we can't make any changes because we don't know how. We don't know how to change. I mean, well, we didn't know how to, get to the moon, but we supposedly, some people will say we didn't, some people say we did, we got to the moon. Like, we didn't know how cell phones would work. We didn't know how Wi-Fi would work, but we got cell phones and Wi-Fi, right? It's like the things that we don't have, we truly don't have because we're not working to get them. Or we don't have it because there's too much money, especially in, some of the societies governed by money, like, this one here, where, we can't have any healthcare or like our healthcare is kind of crappy or wanting, and, our education is kind of crappy and wanting, and so many other things in this country are kind of crappy and wanting. But when it comes to defense, then, we got it. When it comes to all of this other stuff, we got the money. We can find the money where we want to have the money. Like, where did all this money all of a sudden come from when you're trying to bail out all these big businesses? And then we have like cruise lines and these other businesses that want to claim like a basis of citizenship in these other countries so that they don't have to pay taxes or whatever. Like, there have been like businesses and organizations that will take advantage of the system to not pay anything into the system or to pay less. But when it comes to getting a buyout, or when it comes to getting not a buyout, but when it comes to getting assistance, then they want to hit up the government. It's like on one hand, you don't want to pay anything into this, but when you are in a spot, like you want to take advantage of it, right? And then we just allow it to happen. And it's like, and it's almost like the money that we spend in this country is a direct correlation to where we put our value. It's like it's not in the people, it's not in educating, it's not in preserving life, it's not in helping people who are like at a disadvantage. It's not about solving the actual problems that are problems in this country. It's all about arming ourselves more and making more money. And like it's obvious, it's apparent in the way that we spend money. And it's like you give what you get. And that's kind of sort of that Taurus Scorpio axis. I feel like it's like you give what you get. Wherever you put value is where you get value. And with Scorpio being that water, being, you know, more of that collective space when it comes to, because it's like the 12th house is more of the collective subconscious in a very Neptunian, like these are the things that we all dream of way. But the eighth house is also collective in the sense that, we all end up in the eighth house regardless. It is the death energy. We all end up in the ground at some point, and we're all mills to the inchworms or whatever. And so it's like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna shut this down here. I'm probably gonna move to more uploads. I like distance myself from uploads because my iPad filled up, and then I had to like delete a bunch of videos, and it was like a bunch of videos that I'm not even gonna watch. But I was like, oh, I might as well just go live because then I don't have to worry about sitting here while it uploads and doing this and doing that. But I might be moving to uploads because y'all have seen enough of my face. I can show some cards, and maybe I can do them shorter too. I don't know. Anyway, so I hope that y'all continue to act in alignment with whatever it is to get whatever you want. I hope that you enter the space of doing. Oh, that's one thing I think I forgot to talk about earlier. Because I started talking about Abraham Hicks, and because that's where I learned about the law of attraction and manifestation and stuff like that. And one thing that I really love that she talks about that I feel like we kind of sort of overlook is that, once you get into alignment, once you follow the things that make you happy, a lot of times what you'll get is the inspiration to do something. A lot of times, like, you don't get the thing itself, but you get an idea to do something that will lead you to the thing. And so then you get into aligned action, right? So first you get into alignment and then you start doing aligned actions. And when you begin to do aligned actions, you begin to get the things that you're manifesting, right? It's like you're not going to just get the money, you're not just going to get this, or you're not just going to get that. You're going to get the opportunity to claim it through these like divine inspiration, these like minutes of just like, oh, I should do this. And by following it, you get to claim it. It's not just dispensed to you. And so I feel like, again, with the lovers being backed by the magician and this Gemini backed by Mercury energy, it's all about aligned action. It's all about compassionate action, but the focus is on action, right? Because continuing to wish for it, like we're not in this star energy where you can just wish for it and then like the wheel of fortune will bring it in. It's like, no. Like with the lovers and with the magician, like you got to get something to get something. And so I think that's what's most important right now. And so it may come with a sort of momentary discomfort, but it's just like healing. You face whatever is difficult now so that you don't have to continue to be haunted by it later. And to be in a space of inaction is to not be moving forward in the most impactful way you could be. And again, the action looks different for everyone, but I don't think it's for anyone to just sit there and like let things pass them by. And that's why I'll end this, because that's important. All right, bye. I'm gonna get to work now.